we hear that preface that says, I've never told anyone this before, but, and then we lean in and listen to the gift of somebody trusting us enough, feeling safe enough to be able to dig into the things that have never seen the light of day before. Hi, everybody. Steve Halley here with the Family Peace Initiative, and welcome to the November 2025 edition of the Facilitator's Tool Chest blog. We're approaching 10 years of putting these out, either in written form or video form, and you can find a whole collection on our YouTube channel, or you can find a collection on our blog page of our website. But feel free to subscribe and like the videos that are benefiting you. Give us some feedback on how these are working for you. Today, I want to tell you a couple of things that have just been haunting me in the last month or so. And food for thought. I had a conversation with some facilitators a while back who told me that there's still programs out there that are demanding that participants own violence or cruel behaviors before they can come into the room and participate in the group setting. I was a little bit surprised by that because back in the 1990s, roughly 30 years ago, we didn't know any better, and that's what we did, right? We expected people to own and detail what they did and what the police reports said and all this stuff before they came into the group room. And, a lot of people did. A lot of people talked about what they didn't want to talk about. But there was plenty of people who were not going to have that. And they didn't. They didn't own any behavior. They refused to acknowledge anything. And we would get into power struggles with them. And then they would be sent away from our program back to their referral source. They would get in more trouble with the court. And their partners, the victims, their children, are no safer than they were when the person was initially sent to our program. So what we recognized by evidence of all these power struggles we were getting into is that we needed to change. And it was interesting what we discovered. We discovered that if we led by example, and instead of trying to force people to talk about what they didn't want to talk about, that we just shared pieces of ourselves in the orientation class and led by example and then became curious, people would share the things that they had done to their partners, the things that they weren't excited about talking about. It was an epiphany for us that we could move away from our own coercive and dominating and controlling behaviors and just build relationships with our participants who, for all practical purposes, had very few, if any, healthy relationships in their lives. And so we would lead by example, and we would lead first by telling people ways that we had fallen short in our relationships, ways that we had blatantly disregarded or inflicted pain and suffering, intentionally on the people that we loved. And we would build lists on the board, and then all of a sudden our participants were acknowledging their own behaviors as well. So all of a sudden, in one orientation class, we were having people own more behavior than we'd ever seen before by having two orientations and trying to force people into saying what we wanted. All of a sudden, we recognized what had been there in front of us the whole time, that building relationships, leading by example, creating safety, and normalizing cruelty through the river of cruelty model freed people up to be able to talk about things that are very hard to talk about, that are not pleasant to talk about. They're loaded with shame, embarrassment, guilt, humility, the like. And so I want you to know that there's ways to be able to invite conversations about difficult topics, especially in pattern intervention, because just about every class is a difficult, vulnerable topic if we're doing it well. And it wouldn't be surprising if people not wanting to talk about that's the things that we talk about, because it's loaded with emotional energy. So we discovered that creating safety in the room worked better than coercion, threats, domination, and control. And so I would encourage you to take a look at yourself and how you bring people into your program. Are you bringing them in by scaring them and threatening them and telling them what they're going to have to do and laying on these expectations of their behavior? Or are you building relationships and connection and creating safety, respect, equality in your room? Because as we get better at doing that, difficult conversations become easier. And then you'll be surprised at what happens, because people will tell you things that they never had to tell you at all. But they tell you things that they've done in their relationships or things that have happened to them that maybe they've never told anybody before. And that's when an indicator of us moving in the right direction in helping people to create positive change in their own lives. Hey, thank you so much for viewing these and liking these and encouraging me over the years. It's really been an honor to build and put these things together. I'd love for you to take a look at your own program, your own behavior, and how you are falling into the trap of domination and control yourself, trying to force people to say things that you want to hear, instead of creating the safety that's required for people to freely decide to talk about things that are scary, risky, vulnerable to talk about. And your program will be moving in a really good way. Have a great November. Happy Thanksgiving. And I'll put out another one of these in December. And, like any other video on YouTube and beyond, if you like and subscribe these things, it helps us. And we love building the library. So, see you soon.